Climate change, overconsumption, and corporate greed. Many people don't know this, but LA and San Diego have been out of water for years, and now purchase most of their fresh water from privatized corporations, like the Wonderful Company, owned by a billionaire couple called the Resnicks, who systematically...
How the fuck those niggas own water, bro? Them niggas out of water, but some rich ass... How the fuck do you own water, gang?
That's the issue.
Them niggas own water, bro?
Yo, that's fucked up.
This shit comes from Earth. How the fuck do you own that?
That's what greed. You know what that is? That's greed.
Yo, them niggas is selling water, gang. They sell water, bro.
You need.
Climate change, population growth, pollution, and overuse are draining rivers and drying lakes worldwide. Entire regions are experiencing severe shortages, not because water has vanished, but because demand is outpacing supply. The global water crisis is no longer a future threat. It's happening now.
While 40 million Californians suffer through unprecedented drought, one billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water system, seized in a series of secretive meetings 2 decades ago. That system was largely paid for by the very taxpayers whose water these billionaires hold hostage. Urban water systems are desperate for water, but in 2023, they'll receive just 5% of what they requested from the state. The Resnicks are the biggest farmers in California. As of 2007, they owned 4 San Francisco's worth of farmland, and nearly half of Americans buy at least one of their products. Their pistachios, their pomegranate juice, their mandarins, their flowers. It's all under one massive umbrella, the Wonderful Company, a privately owned company worth at least $5 billion. The majority owners, the Resnicks, are worth at least $8 billion.
Across the world, water is being quietly privatized. Corporations are purchasing rights to aquifers, reservoirs, and municipal water systems, often in economically vulnerable regions. Once public water becomes private property, access changes. Prices rise. Infrastructure follows profit, not people. In some countries, families now spend a third of their income just to survive on water alone.
BlackRock, right, are value stripping the UK. What does that mean? It means that as we begin to sell not only our stocks and our real estate, but now our infrastructure, whether it be Thames Water, whether it be Gatwick Airport, to asset managers like BlackRock, we get value stripped. And the reason why that happens is because it's not within BlackRock's interest or other private equity funds or asset managers to invest into long-term generational value for those assets that are so vital to our society. So when Macquarie, for instance, bought Thames Water, they were criticised by the fact that they didn't invest long-term into the infrastructure of Thames Water, whilst at the same time increasing costs to us, the users. And obviously that benefits someone like Macquarie because they need to invest as little as possible into the asset, keep it running for as long as they possibly can with as little and smaller budget as possible, whilst increasing the costs that we have to pay to increase their margins. And so what that means is that, yes, they might perform well for 10 years in their fund, but when they actually need to provide value to the people who use it, it all falls apart. Which is why Thames Water went down the toilet. It's why our train lines go down the toilet. It's why even they're saying at Heathrow Airport, the reason why it had to shut down recently and why there was a fire was because of lack of investment into vital infrastructure within the airport. We're going to see the same thing with our housing. All of our housing will be bought up by private asset managers, and we'll get less quality and have to pay more for it.
Nations are increasingly using water as leverage. Rivers like the Nile, Tigris, and Indus cross borders, making control upstream a source of power and fear. Massive dams promise energy and dominance for some, while threatening drought and collapse for others. When water stops flowing, food systems fail, economies suffer, and conflict becomes inevitable.
Everyone thinks we're in an AI arms race right now. However, that is not the case. We're actually in the middle of a water gold rush. While everyone's trying to obsess over who has the best model, the real power move is owning what powers the models. It's the data centers, the land it sits on, the water it consumes, because these models are incredibly thirsty. One report showed that just a single training run on GPT-3 used the same water as 300 households in a day. Now imagine every company racing to supercharge that action. So who's impacted most? It's small towns, quiet cities, places like yours and mine, because the land is cheap. No one's watching, and most local governments don't realize what's being signed away until the water runs dry. There are already secret council meetings where companies are negotiating access to water, sometimes permanently, and it's not coming back to your garden, your community, nor your kids. That's why my company isn't just about food storage. It's about staying ahead of your food, water, health, hygiene, energy, and security. Because if water is the new oil, then we all need to get a lot smarter about how we control it and how we own it. Emergency prepping is not old-fashioned or extreme. It is hyper-relevant to today.
As wells run dry and crops fail, communities are forced to leave their homes. Experts warn that future refugee crises won't be driven by war, but by thirst. Water scarcity is already reshaping borders, cities, and global migration patterns. Survival, not politics, is forcing people to move.
The challenge that we have today is when I have a senior citizen call me and tell me she's peeing in the backyard because her water bill and her sewer bill doubled. And no one cared about that.
Across the country, private companies are swooping in to buy water and sewer systems from the local governments that own them. The result for customers? Skyrocketing bills more than double what they used to be at a time when inflation is hitting Americans' wallets hard.
The motive for investor-owned utilities is profit, revenue, and that's what matters. It's not water quality, it's not reliability, it's not whether the customers are happy, it's not your neighbor, it's just a money-making machine.
They present their efforts as a win-win scenario to save taxpayers money and local governments from financial ruin.
Aqua pitched it as free money you can do anything you want with.
What really that is just a bait and switch technique. They promise the world and they deliver pain to the customers who have to foot the bill into perpetuity.
And over the past decade, investor-owned corporations have successfully lobbied many state governments, like Pennsylvania, to make it easier and more attractive for local governments to make the sale. And when those companies come knocking in their town, many people don't know what's happening until it's too late.
It generally isn't done in broad daylight. Nobody's for it.
This is a story about the corporate takeover of one of our most important natural resources, the consequences for communities, and how an unlikely coalition of people are fighting to keep water public and affordable.
Water is now being traded on financial markets through water futures. Supporters call it efficiency. Critics call it the commodification of life itself. Because when water becomes an asset, someone profits, and someone else pays the price. Access to survival should never depend on market performance.
Hey, this is your friendly reminder of why I choose to live in Vermont. Also, I'm out here harvesting my own water because I don't think that we should have to pay for things that we can grow or harvest on our own. Fuck the government.
The global water wars aren't always fought with weapons. They're fought in boardrooms, in courtrooms, in trade agreements most people never see. As the planet warms and fresh water dwindles, one truth becomes unavoidable. Water will define power in the century ahead. The only question is whether it remains a human right or becomes the most dangerous commodity on Earth.